Okay, we've gone over chapter 1. If you don't know what this video is about, we told everybody a couple weeks ago we're going to be reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of the best finance books, basic finance, as well as investment in real estate and other assets. Great book. There's not enough education in high schools. People will graduate high school without even knowing what compound interest is, etc. So we invited you all to come on a journey with us. If this is the first video that you're seeing, this is chapter 1. Then we're going to do another video about chapter 2. And it doesn't matter when you see this, if they're all out at that time, just grab the book, read it, and hopefully you'll join along with us. So I've got Chris here, I've got Zach virtually, and let's have a little brainstorm. Chris, do you want to start and
Absolutely.
say what jumped out at you about chapter
Absolutely.
1?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a couple things really jumped out for me. One was when he started talking about being pushed around and the ways that you can respond to that and use it as a springboard to find things that you maybe wouldn't have thought of, a little bit of out of the box thinking. I really liked that. He used the example of the comic books where he wanted the comic books and they're tearing the covers off. So he repurposed that into the library and everything. So it's looking at those things I thought was really cool. The other thing I really liked was how he described passion. Love plus anger equals passion. And the way that I was thinking about that wasn't necessarily getting mad, but the thing that fires you up is like that anger, and the thing that you thoroughly enjoy is that love. And you put those things together and it gives you that passion for what you're doing. I really got a lot out of that. I thought that was a really cool way of doing it. Pass it back to you.
Cool. Zach?
Hey guys. Hot take on this side. I think that the most relevant thing that he talks about in the first chapter is that when he says that people exploit themselves, he makes the point that money runs people's lives because they don't understand it, and that the fear of not having enough money or the desire for having more money, eventually, if you don't conquer those, it doesn't matter how rich that you get, you'll still be a high-paid slave. So, I mean, that ignorance about money creates fear and greed. And, he gets abstract and talks about how money isn't a real thing. But I think it's important to focus on the fact that getting in, understanding at the outset that money's a tool and it's not necessarily the end goal is like the biggest key takeaway from this first chapter for me.
Awesome. I like that. And I should have mentioned at the beginning, like I did yesterday when we shot this video and I screwed it up and had no audio. The book takes place in the viewpoint of two kids. So Robert and his buddy Michael. And it's how they're two different dads. Robert's dad is university educated, has a steady job, professional job, etc. Michael's dad has a grade 8 education and a high level of hustle. And he has a bunch of businesses and 115 employees and on and on. It's these two kids that go to Michael's dad and say, hey, we want to learn about money. So what I liked is when they show up, he says, okay, I'll teach you kids about money. It's based in Hawaii. Show up at my office at this time. So they showed up. They made him sit in he wasn't there. They said, oh, you're gonna have to wait for him. They had him sit in the office in a waiting room. It's dark, it's sunny outside. They're young kids, they want to go have fun. And they made him wait and wait and wait. And they didn't like it. When they finally got in talking to them, he said, well, that was your first lesson. They were frustrated. They said, that was your first lesson. You had no control over your time. You had to wait for me. And if you don't understand how money works and educate yourself, you're going to continue not having control over your time for life. I thought that was a good anecdote. Kids weren't too happy, but I think they get the point. And then what I also really liked about it was a lot of people think your home is an asset. We're in the real estate game. Your home's not an asset. Your home is full of expenses. Assets are things that are working while you're sleeping and increasing your wealth. There are a lot of different assets that he talks about in this chapter, but your home is not an asset, which a lot of people think that it is. So that's interesting. And the last thing I wanted to quickly mention is that they say that people confuse their profession with their business. So your profession could be fill in the blank. That's where your paychecks are coming from. Your paychecks are coming from. But your business is managing at a 30,000 foot level. Where am I investing this? Okay, I'm going to put this in the market, or I'm going to look at a rental property or intellectual property or bonds, or what am I doing with this, kind of managing it from an overseeing kind of perspective. So I thought those were all interesting things, but it was a good chapter. And I'm looking forward to the next chapter where they talk about what a balance sheet is and what an income statement is, because these things we don't get taught in school and they might seem complicated and you might think, oh, economists on TV or financial planners talk circles around me. This book breaks it down to layman's terms. It's not intimidating, it's easy. And when you read the next chapter and understand it, you'll have control over it. And that's where things get super exciting. Anything last words you want to talk about, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this book, I haven't read this before. So like many of you potentially haven't seen this before, you're not behind on the ball at all. I'm reading this for the first time. I think that Aaron and Zach have been able to look through it before, at least once or twice, maybe in some of their times. But yeah, this is a first for me, and I look forward to the next chapter and learning more of what it has to teach, for sure.
Sweet. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that was left for me was he makes a statement in there about how rich people pay themselves first. And I think that that's super duper profound. He says, you pay yourself first before even your taxes. And one of the things one of my favorite quotes is from Zig Ziglar, where he talks about how life is a cafeteria where you have to pay before you eat, versus a restaurant where you get your meal and then you pay the bill afterwards. So I've always found that super helpful. And this was one of the first places that I ever encountered that idea of paying yourself first and making sure that you put something away so that you're constantly growing your own personal business and net worth, no matter how little or how much you're making.
That's huge. That's massive, because I've sat down with people and said, okay, you want to talk about a rental property? Where are we at? And they say, well, we can't get the down payment. It's too hard. Well, imagine if you had no choice, but you're going to save $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. You have to save $2,000 a month no matter what. You have to force yourself to do it. Well, you do that for 2 years. You've got 50 grand. There's your down payment. You have to look at your expenses, and people don't look at their expense. Or you have 48,000. I get the math, but I'm giving you an example. People don't look at their expenses. They don't control their expenses. If you actually have a monthly budget that's written down for yourself, or if you're a family with you and your partner, you're in probably, I don't know the numbers. I'm guessing the 1%, because we talk to a lot of people and most people do not have a monthly budget written down, or maybe they did 5 years ago and haven't really stuck to it or changed it as things change. So yeah, I thought it was great. I'm glad you guys are watching this, and please join us on the journey. If you have any comments, we'd love to chat some more about it, but we're looking forward to chapter 2. Anything else I'm missing, fellas?
That's great.
Perfect. Ashley's here too. She's in the background. She didn't want to be on the video. I get that. Anything else we should point out, Ashley, that we're just forgetting?
No, but I'm going to read my book now too.
Sweet. Ashley's in for next week. Okay. Hope everybody has a great week. Adios.
See ya.
Later, people.